Greetings, Mayor, Council, and Flagstaff residents for joining us today as we share our annual report for the Indigenous Commission. My name is Kiara Weathersby, and I will share my traditional introduction with you this evening. Yad she tetnazan inishle, adona hitli chickasaw choctaw Mississippi dan de kaigi bushichin, tetchini deshache adona hitli Cherokee Louisiana dan de kaigi deshanella, Kiara Weathersby and she kantlana dan nasha. She Northern Arizona University Office of Indigenous Student Success did nashnish Manager Student Development nishle. Shahastin A Raphael woye. Peach Springs dan naga. Shaalchene A tatla alaja nahagahigi A Shache Carolina woye. Shema A Janice Weathersby woye. Twinines deja de kate ado shaje A Carl Weathersby woye no dan Mississippi de kate enit ant. Shamasani A Sally Spencer woye. Abi ken de kate do shache A Mark Spencer woye and its aunt twinines deja de kate enit ant. She tachil bi yezilko do nade nake go yolkalgo kentlanishe dische. She de nebasa bihosh a ahotego de neasananishle a yahat. I'm an enrolled member of the Navajo Nation and was born and raised here in Flagstaff when Flagstaff Medical Center was on the west side of Beaver. I introduce myself in the Navajo language as we are matrilineal people, and this helps us identify ourselves with relatives and our relationships to one another. I currently serve as a commissioner as well as a student development manager in the Office of Indigenous Student Success at Northern Arizona University. And I'm here with Commissioners Kabotie-Adakai and Toya, as well as staff member Rose Tohi, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Kabotie-Adakai, and I am a member of the Hopi tribe. My dad was from the village of Sungopavi, and then my mom was a Bahana, Biligana white person. So my dad's clan was Snow Clan, and so sometimes people say, "What is your clan?" And I say, "It's Snow Clan," but then other times I'm like, "Well, I'm white person clan," because it's matrilineal also. So anyway, both work. I've lived in Flagstaff my whole life, and I currently manage Flagstaff Community Markets, which do the farmers market, the flea market, and the downtown community market. I also teach extracurricular activities at Kinlani Bordertown Dormitory. I kind of do the Flagstaff hustle. I teach kindergarten at Pine Forest. I'm like trying to tick off my jobs, and I've worked at the hospital. I've worked at Museum of Northern Arizona, a lot of great organizations in the past. And what else? I serve on this commission. I serve on the ICF, also the commission for the county, the Indigenous Peoples Advisory Council, and Flagstaff Food Link. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Flagstaff City Council. My name is Fawn Lene Toya. I am Hopi, Jemez, and Zia Pueblo. I am a Flagstaff City resident of 4 years. I currently work as a case manager with supportive services for Native Americans for Community Action. I am also the vice president of the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff. I also am a Coconino County Health Disparities Grants Resource Navigator, and also have been re-elected as your Indigenous Commissioner of Flagstaff, and I would like to thank you for that re-nomination, as my term will expire of December of 2024. And I am from the village of Kikotsmovi, Badger Clan, and I have 3 children who live also on Hopi Reservation. I also grew up on the Hopi Reservation, and I'm glad to be here and serve the community of Flagstaff and all peoples. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we want to begin with the ordinance 2020-24, which establishes a new chapter, the Indigenous Commission. In October of 2020, the Indigenous Commission has 7 voting members and 3 ex officio members of the Indigenous Peoples Advisory Council. We all reside within the Flagstaff city limits and are enrolled members of tribal nations. City Council appointed us on December 1st, 2020, in connection to the PBB Key Community Priorities, Objectives, and Regional Plan, inclusive and engaged community to foster community pride and civic engagement by increasing opportunities for public involvement in line with best practices and legal requirements, as well as to enhance community involvement, education, and regional partnerships to strengthen the level of public trust. And here are the current voting commissioners, ex officio commissioners, and liaisons for the Indigenous Commission. Next to the voting commissioners in parentheses are when their appointments expire in December of that year.
Through the Flagstaff Community Forums in 2006 and 2017, key recommendations were presented and accepted in October of 2017 by City Council. While they are listed here, the list is not in order of priority. The recommendations are all essential. We want to make sure that we're thinking about these as starting points of how the Indigenous Commission can be informed so that we can advise the City Council. As you can see, there's visibility, economic inclusion, and impact, the Indigenous Community Cultural Center, education, wellness, housing, and transportation. In March of 2020, public safety and criminal justice was added to the recommendations. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but a starting point.
Meeting overview. Today, we will review what the Indigenous Commission covered in the 4 quarters in 2021 and the 2 quarters in 2022. We advise the council on certain situations, and knowledgeable community members are invited to provide the correct knowledge. This way, the commission can make informed recommendations and advise City Council. We can also share accurate information with community members. We learned from the following partners and presentations listed. Here you can see the picture of the Indigenous Commission brainstorming at our retreat in July of 2021.
In January through March, the Indigenous Commission was established in the first quarter of 2021, and we had our introductory meeting where we connected and shared our introductions in our languages. As you heard earlier, it takes a while to establish kinship and relationality with one another. Relations are established by sharing who we are, the nations and communities we come from, and our relationship to one another via maternal and paternal lineage. We also discussed the work plan that was assigned to the Coordinator for Indigenous Initiatives and guides the Indigenous Commission. And the overview let the Indigenous Commission see how we could support those key recommendations. Then we had the selection of our chair and our co-chair. And as a new commission, we learned about quorum and meetings and all of the fun things that go along with it.
Okay. Next is April through June. In the second quarter of 2021, the Commission had an informative presentation from the Climate Energy Specialist from the Sustainability Division on Climate Action and Carbon Neutrality at the City of Flagstaff that correlates with wellness. We also had a presentation from the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Manager on the Indigenous American, Indian, Alaska Native population trends in the City of Flagstaff. The presentation correlates with the economic inclusion and impact of Indigenous residents. Population trends may guide future conversations regarding visibility, housing, and transportation recommendations. We started with a conversation on land acknowledgement that connects with visibility, and we were looking at how we could provide that to the City of Flagstaff as an opportunity to share that relationality here within the city.
Quarter 3. Next is July through September of the 3rd quarter in 2021. We had our Indigenous Commission retreat. That is the first and only meeting our Indigenous Commission has had in person. The remainder of our meetings and presentations from the community has been over Teams. We facilitated the conversation around our mission and vision of the Commission. we had a working session on the land acknowledgement, which correlates with visibility. Additionally, we had an update on the alternate response model. Also, we spoke about the acronym shown, extrajudicial providers offering connected healing as an option for the mobile unit. We considered colors and symbols that may be associated with the mobile unit. These conversations correlated with wellness, public safety, and criminal justice. Then we finalized our version and submitted that first version of the land acknowledgement to the city manager and council for consideration. That occurred in August of 2021, which correlates with visibility.
So this next slide is October through December in Q4, where the commission met with city attorney to discuss the land acknowledgement submitted to city council and city manager for consideration. And our conversation was to try to stay as close to the original version as possible. As advisors to the city council, we sought to keep the intentionality with the land acknowledgement. And through that conversation with City Attorney Sterling Solomon, the commission voted on slight revisions and then resent that land acknowledgement to the City Council for approval, which happened in October of 2021. And in November, the City Council unanimously approved the Indigenous Commission's revision, and we're thankful and pleased that we got to share that with you all, and that is now part of your meetings. And the inaugural reading did occur in Native American Heritage Month, and so that also correlates with visibility. We also had a presentation from CODA, the Commission on Diversity Awareness, and they shared their support for the proposed renaming of the peaks. And so we listened to what CODA shared about potential partnerships, which correlates with visibility and education.
From January through March, the first quarter of 2022, we talked about the alternative response model mobile unit. We were notified that the City Council approved the Taros Health Incorporated contract. The contract is for the van to transport firefighters and EMTs and behavioral health techs and specialists in outreach efforts with specialized equipment. We also had a conversation about the acronym for the mobile unit. The commission worked with one another to develop the acronym CARE, the Community Alliance Response and Engagement Unit. This correlates with wellness, public safety, and criminal justice for our relatives experiencing houselessness. We also had a conversation with Southwest Decision Resources Incorporated. They presented on services they provide to the city of Flagstaff about the Thorpe Park Annex. The Indigenous Commission is identified as a stakeholder concerning the Thorpe Park Annex parcel. The SDR presentation connects with the Indigenous Community Cultural Center's proposed location. Finally, in the first quarter of March, we also had new commissioners appointed to the commission as the one-year appointments expired in January. And in April through May of the second quarter of 2022, we talked about a refurbished building in Telluride that serves as a National Historic Landmark. The presentation was a way to introduce the commission to possibilities as it correlates with the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. Commissioners also heard from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Judge Slayton provided a presentation and spoke with us about the juvenile, adult, and family issues impacting our communities in the state. He spoke of the coordination with the city and county and how we're working on the relationship with the Indigenous communities in the city of Flagstaff and surrounding areas. This presentation correlates with public safety and criminal justice. We talked about the Indigenous Representation Project at Sawmill, Multicultural Art and Nature County Park. This was part of a conversation through the City of Flagstaff Beautification Arts and Sciences Program, and input from the Beautification and Public Art Commission city staff and City for Representation through cultural art projects. In that conversation, we identified 2 commissioners to volunteer with the project work group. This presentation correlates with visibility. Finally, the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff did a presentation on their work for the Indigenous Community Cultural Center, looking at some more focus groups and presenting to the commission for their insights.
Future planning. We have our future planning because we are in the middle of Q2. Our tour of Flagstaff Shelter Services was postponed from yesterday, so therefore we will be redirecting that soon here shortly. We have an upcoming tour of the reclaimed water facility. We are planning to have a retreat this summer. The commission will have another conversation about the regional plan to provide input. We realize there are the key recommendations that we want to work on together: education, housing, transportation, wellness, and environmental justice.
So that concludes our report, and we continue to advocate for city council and city leadership to continue to be great partners, including listening to the voices of Indigenous relatives. So thank you. Hiaha Asquali. Those are gratitude in Indigenous languages, and now we welcome any questions, and Rose, our staff member Tohi, will also support us in responding.
Thank you, Commissioners. Council, do we have any questions or comments? Kara, or Councilmember House? Sorry.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for the presentation and for the gift of the tea. I can't even express to you how moving that was, and your presentation. And when I tell you that I'm genuinely like holding myself together after that, I truly mean it. So thank you so much for that. I did have a question in regards to the land acknowledgement, because I've loved seeing its inclusion in not only city council meetings, but also starting to see it among some of the other city commissions. And I've just wondered if it was a recommendation from the Indigenous Commission for that to be included in all city commission meetings, because I certainly see the value of it, and it seems so meaningful in keeping that focus on inclusion and visibility front forward when it comes to the work that those commissions are doing.
Thank you, Councilmember House. I appreciate your question. And we had talked about that before, just informally, but I think that when CODA came to support us, they recommended that that it would be a good idea for it to be utilized everywhere within city government. So we do support that in their recommendation and support of that.
Great, thank you. And then my second question was actually about the Indigenous Representation Project. So I've heard about that, of course, through work with the Tri-Diversity Councils with the county. And there was a presentation that suggested a recommendation to include multicultural representation as part of that. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit more to the intention there, because I know from at least one commission there was a little bit of hesitancy because of not wanting to basically impose on what was intended to be an Indigenous representation and enhance that visibility. So can you speak maybe a little bit more to that?
Thank you again. Yes, I think that when I first heard about it as a staff member and the conversation within the program that Jana has, Jana Weldon and Eliza Kretzman, I think that at that point they had, and if Eliza's here, I would appreciate her input as well as Jana. And at that time, what I had learned was that the program had put it as a line item for Indigenous representation in art, and we really certainly do appreciate that. And however, we also discussed further that it would be good to not, to really, I mean, our way of Indigenous ways is to share. And that's a way of relationship building and to build upon the things that we have. And if the city has funding and if there is an avenue to also promote other people of color's artwork in the public spaces, we do welcome that. And I think that that is the way of Indigenous kinship. And I think that our commissioners agree on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Shimoni?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Rose, and Commissioners Weathersby, Adakai, and Toya for your presentation. Great job tonight. And I just want to express gratitude to you, Rose, and all the commissioners. It's been a real pleasure to be part of that group with all of you, and just listening to the important conversations that you all have on that commission. And it's just been fun watching that group kind of get formulated, put together, and really start hitting its stride. And I just so look forward to the good work ahead, and just want to express gratitude. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember McCarthy?
Well, thank you, Mayor. My comment doesn't directly relate to the Indigenous Commission, but it's pretty close. I just want to reflect back on my 6 years on City Council, and some of the most meaningful things that I've done were the opportunities I had to meet with our neighbors. And by our neighbors, I mean that I had occasion to meet with Wallapai leadership, with Dene leadership, and with the Havasupai Council, and also with the Hopi, and got to, I will say, not participate in, but be present for the Hopi Kachina dances, which I will have to admit was a highlight of the last 10 years of my life. I really enjoyed that. And Wallapai, what's that?
Yeah, you did.
Wallapai, yes, the Wallapai also. So, I mean, in some of these occasions, after official meetings, we're invited into people's homes. And, I mean, what more can a person do than invite you into their home and feed you? So, just wonderful experiences for me, and I thought you might appreciate my comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, council members.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be invited to a Katsina dance and to be welcomed into those events that our people do hold. And so thank you. Hihat Gamio and Asquali. And thank you also, Councilmember Shimoni, for your gratitude and for your support throughout this time.
Thank you. Well, Councilmember Salas.
First, I would say maraming salamat po. Dakal pong salamat kay Kayungan. So that's gratitude, speaking from my 2 languages from the Philippines. And with that gratitude, I will reach out to Rose and return the favor and sharing with you tea I brought back from the Philippines last summer. It's with just gratitude and appreciation of the time and talent that you dedicate in service to our community by being on the commission. Because time is a non-renewable resource that we share to our community. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you all for everything you do for the city. I can't imagine how we would work without you. Your work is invaluable, and thank you for bringing the tea. And Rose, I see Rose often, and I enjoy our conversations and you keeping me in the loop. And to everyone on the commission, I really appreciate everything you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well, I'll just say that you all have been very busy. Thank you for all the work you're doing. It has been a real influence on this council, and I appreciate not just the work that has been done, but I know there's lots of work still to do, and I appreciate the partnerships, the knowledge that you all provide to us, because it is essential for so many of our programs. Everything that we're trying to move forward and doing it in a much more sensible way, respectful way, is leads to the city of Flagstaff's better future for all of us. So thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and I'm just thankful to be here with all of you and to know that we're all doing our best to be good relatives to one another for the city of Flagstaff and for future generations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. With that, we are down to our
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I just also want to just thank city manager and all of the staff, Shannon, Heidi, and everybody who's been really supportive of our work and just of us personally as staff members. Yeah.
Oh, Councilmember Aslan.
If I may, Mayor, I just want to remind everyone as you're walking out, there are write-in spots available for the council election coming up in November. And that was done, I say that seriously, but also just a reminder in the future, it would be really nice to have Native representation on council, and any work that you can do to promote and facilitate good candidates coming forward from your communities would benefit our city immensely.
Can I respond to that comment real quickly?
Absolutely.
It has been in my thoughts, but at this time, I'm watching, learning, and working with you all. So that way, should the time come, I'll be more than ready and grateful to accept it. Thank you
thank
for
you.
your time and for your compassion and understanding. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Fawn. You too. Well stated, Councilmember Aslan. Thank you for add on.